Ashley, and I'm here with Alek and Marco and Grant, and we are all part of Connected Nation. But we wanted to take the time today to talk to Alek and Marco and to learn more about what they do. And in case you don't know who they are both trainers through our digital skills training program, meaning they have been traveling the country, hosting digital skills training classes at lots of different states and lots of different cities and with lots of different organizations. So we wanted to get a chance to let everyone get to know them a little bit better today. Grant and I work in the marketing side of Connected Nation, and we do comms and marketing. So it's our job to make all of these programs pop and get them to the people that need to know more about them. So welcome. We're super glad you guys joined us today.
Thank you for having us.
And like, again, I'll be honest, this is my first time really doing an interview here. I think Grant might have a little more experience than me. He's been doing a lot of podcast stuff. So Grant, help me out wherever I need it. But I want to start by letting Alek and Marco introduce themselves. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what you guys do for Connected Nation?
So I'll go first. My name's Alek Argueta, and I started with Connected Nation January of last year. And so my title is the digital inclusion facilitator. And so basically I help I'm the facilitator for these trainings, the digital skills trainings, through AT&T and the Public Library Association, and also sometimes help our other coworker, Kirsten Rucker, with the Digital Works program, which is also like a remote work prep kind of program that we also have as well. And so I kind of assist her sometimes. And then I've been working on updating some of the materials since technology is always moving pretty fast. We want to make sure that it's always up to date and current. And we also just do outreach to get more places and organizations to partner up with us and have us come out to their organization. And I'll pass it over to Marco.
I'm Marco Mata. I have been with CN for actually in October, it's going to be a year. And a contractor, I do contracting work for CN. I'm just a digital skills and learning facilitator. And I do outreach, even though it's not my favorite part of the job. My favorite part is actually being out in the field and teaching the classes and connecting with people. But yes, that's basically all I do. And,
well, I'm going to stop you because you should never say I'm just because you're not just. So to give everybody a little bit of background, Marco does so many interviews for us. So when he's out in the field and he trains people all day, he still takes the time to stop and talk to them and get us some interviews for the comms department that we're able to use. And just in the past 2 weeks, he was interviewing Miss Tony in Texas and asked her what one of her favorite parts of the training was. And without hesitation, she said, the facilitator. So you are not just a digital skills facilitator, Marco. I want to know that you both are changing lives every day. And what you do and who you talk to, every single interview that Grant and I get back is just filled with what people have learned, what they're going to do with their knowledge, how they want to show their kids. Oh, I don't have to call my kids as much anymore because now I can do this. And I think so. Neither of you are ever just a facilitator. Like, you're doing the important work. You're doing the important stuff every single day. So I had to interject there for a second.
Thank you.
And make sure you knew that. So why don't can one of you or both of you tell us what makes digital skills training essential, what you're finding to be, why it's so important, why everybody needs this?
Well, I think because, everything is moving online. And like you said, a lot of the older folks just get tired of asking their children, grandchildren for help. And before we know it, I think absolutely everything we have to do in our day-to-day lives is going to move to being online, whether it be, all our bills or, things of just everyday things, And so if myself, and also before this job, I would get nervous, doing stuff online, talking to my boss on the computer, doing Zoom sessions, sharing my screen in particular, because they could see everything that I do or do not know how to do. But I think with just practicing and having a positive attitude towards it will build that confidence. And then before you know it, you'll just feel like a pro, which is, I think, very, very important for us to all feel confident and to do essential things, in our day-to-day lives. So
Funny enough,
So-
before this, I was having, and I'm sorry, Grant, to interrupt. I was having a conversation with a friend who's much younger than me, Sierra, you know her. And I said something like, "Oh, my husband is looking for the checkbook." And she's like, "You still write checks for stuff?" And I was like, "Well, we have to for like sometimes for," I was like, she goes, "I don't even own a checkbook." And it made me think like, yeah, I like, even I'm a bit older than all of y'all, but like, even like it's changing. I said, my grandma still writes checks sometimes at the grocery store. Like she'll write them a check and they like run it through a machine. And that's like foreign because the world is changing so much. So I realize all of you young people, like that's not something, you know what I mean? Like we gotta get up on our times as older folk because like I don't think that's the way the world is anymore. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I think I've written a total of 2 checks my whole life, so no, not very common.
That's so funny. That's so funny. Go ahead, Grant. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I was actually going to mention, as a fellow non-checkbook owner, there's so many things that, like, for example, I'm 23 years old. Marco and Alec, you're a little bit younger as well. So we grew up and we kind of like grew as the technology grew. So like I always say, use the example with my girlfriend and my friends when I'm talking about it, is like when I was 12, like iPhones really started becoming popular. And like that's typically when kids get like an iPhone. And so you kind of grow with the technology. And so every new thing that came out, we learned secondhand, and it was just very straightforward. But a lot of people need, like you mentioned earlier, pros such as yourselves to teach them and to walk them through those sort of things. And it can be kind of uncomfortable at first because you don't want to admit that you're not that good at something that's so commonplace, but it's one of those things that there's no shame in it. I mean, just like I don't know how to write a check, there's going to have to be times where I'm going to need someone to teach me how to write a check. So on that topic, what would you two consider qualities to be a great digital skills trainer? Because me and Ashley have said it already a couple times on here. We think you are, but if there is someone else that you saw, oh, they're really good at what they do, what qualities do you think that they would be possessing?
I think probably like the main ones would be like compassion, because you have to really understand where they're coming from. Like I know that perfect example, like we did grow up with technology. They didn't, like the older generations didn't exactly. And so I always tell them it's like basically for us, it's like we learned it just like as if we were learning how to ride a bike. And I mean, we just grew up with it. I mean, we learned through it. And so it's like basically learning a new language in some cases, because some people haven't even touched the computer because they're just so scared. And so we also want to take that fear away from them. And I think another one is patience. That's like a really big one because sometimes it really tests our patience, having to repeat the same thing like 5, 6 different times. And we're just like, and or like really going at their pace and just being like, okay, click here. Okay, now click here. And so in those steps, sometimes it's a little bit draining, but I think it's made us bigger, better persons as well.
Yeah.
So we're really grateful for that experience.
And to add to like the compassion, I guess, particularly in that same class that I had with Tony, there were quite a few, I want to say about 4 or 5 young people, that were, I would assume that they were my age. I don't know, but they were pretty young. And, like I mentioned before, that before this job, I really didn't like lead my life with using technology as much. And so I didn't feel confident. And so it did mess with my confidence because, I grew up with technology. I feel like it should be second nature. So it kind of made me feel, even a little bit worse about myself. But seeing them, and it made me feel a little bit better. But at the same time, I couldn't connect with them even like a little bit easier because I feel like that was just me about a year ago. And it also made me happy because, we're young, we should keep up. And I think that just goes to show that like the breaks you take, and I think her name was Brandy. I think I did an interview with her. She mentioned that the breaks you take, even at our age, I'm 28, could really make a big difference because, like Alex said, like technology is always growing and changing, and we need to stay on it to be able to keep up and practice. So, because it is changing drastically with each year that passes, even for us younger folks that are.
Yeah. There's still things I learn every day on this job. So
Yeah,
it's
and
a continuous like process of learning.
And I think having the confidence to really connect and like get to know the people so that by day 2, everyone has a whole different, mindset and approach to the class. They feel a little more comfortable because day 1, you took care of like the introductions and finding out why they wanted to come to the classes. So, yeah, I think that having the confidence to connect with people is really essential too.
Well,
job.
we know that they love taking your classes. So that brings me to the next question, which I was going to ask. Do you have like a funny moment or a memorable person or a story or something that you like? I'm sure every class you take away something, but I know these people leave an impact on you as well, just as much as you leave an impact on them.
Yeah,
we were talking about this before because I know we got the questions, and there's been some stories where I'm like, I don't even know I should share one story. It's kind of it was a really funny and
well, I'll go first.
yeah,
So you can sit and think about if you want to share that one. But I think we all know which one I'm gonna share. So yeah, I was in my first second trip of this year, doing the program, and I was really tired. I couldn't fall asleep the day before class, but it was the last day of, I think I was teaching for 4 days. But I was in Alpena, Michigan, and the very last class I had was video conferencing. And it happened to be on a Thursday, which is when our project 1 and project 2 coworkers, we all get together to, fill each other in on what's going on. And I got the notification and I was like, how can I get this class to wake up? Or is it just me? Because I'm falling asleep. But we were all pretty like tired, cramming so many classes in 2 or 3 days is a lot for not only myself, but for some of the people, especially if they're seniors in the class. So I like to be funny, as like a lot of my coworkers know, but I was just, trying to throw some jokes in there, and I logged on and I was like, hey, you guys want to see a live actual, like what a video conferencing for my company is like, you guys want to get a insight on that? And they were like, yeah, it sounds like a good idea. And then I log on and there's only one coworker online. And then by the time, I thought I had my microphone on mute. Thank you. And I'm just there talking about, how to work, what we're going to learn during the class. We're going to learn how to blur our background. And I was like, and sometimes, if we take meetings from places we're not supposed to, it's going to be very helpful. I was like, and, we're going to talk about, the COVID attire with, I was like having, a polo shirt from the waist up and boxers from the waist down. And I was just trying, catch those jokes and get them to laugh. And then I hear boxers. And I'm like, I look at my screen and everybody in the company is logged on. And it happened to be my boss, our boss, that's saying that. And I was like, oh my gosh, how embarrassing. I don't even know what else I said in that window of opportunity. And I was like, nobody told me. Nobody was like, I think they were living for it, actually. But yeah. But then we hung up the call. I let everybody say hi. And then I was like, that is what not to do whenever you log on to a Zoom conference, okay? And then, yeah, I got really nervous, but they all just, they laughed and we were able to finish the class and everybody woke up and we ended the day on a very funny, positive note. And so it was embarrassing for me, but it was fun and yeah. Crazy Marco.
I I remember our boss was like, "Oh, Marco's so crazy. So fun."
Just Marco being Marco.
Yeah. Oh.
Speaking of those meetings on the topic, Ashley and I are typically in those meetings because, as we mentioned, we do a lot of the marketing and the communications for the AT&T projects that Marco and Alec work on. And it feels like every single meeting, Marco and Alec are some corner of the United States, like either together or separate, or they're going everywhere. And I don't think that, because when we post, oh, this training went successful, this workshop went great today, and we share a little bit about it, Marco and Alec are there and they're on the ground and they're traveling and they're putting in all the miles to make sure all these people get trained. So on that topic, where is one place in the world either of you two or both would like to complete a training or just work with digital skills? I mean, it can be partial, like, hey, maybe I want to go to Hawaii to do some training, or it can be like, this place could really use some training. But yeah,
I mean, we know
cool.
you're shooting for Pittsburgh because you want to compete the two of us.
Yeah.
We know that's on your bucket list, but we're out.
Yeah.
That's number one. That's number one. Well, because I mean, my grandparents live in Mexico City, and I've seen their like their social media gotten hacked and stuff, and they also ordered a couch that was, she's like, it was the best offer that I could get. They never ended up getting the couch, and so they ended up wasting like about $300 on a couch for their patio, like a patio furniture set. So I think I think the cybersecurity is really needed everywhere. And so, I mean, I would love to go in person and give it to all my family members in Mexico, because I've seen also their Facebook's getting hacked. And so I'm like, just make sure to block and report the accounts, and don't be answering random Facebook Messenger messages and stuff. So I think either Mexico, or we could even do like Cancun, or even South America. Like we've always wanted to go to Colombia, so I mean, any of those places would be nice. And Marco's actually pretty like knows a lot of Italian, so I'm like, hey, trip to Italy. I mean,
That's amazing.
Well, honestly, in my opinion, I think I'm pretty happy with the random little small towns and states I would never travel to, because I feel like I learned a lot about different ways of thinking and of the people and the citizens in different parts of just our country. So I've very, very much enjoyed like going to these little towns that are just, I would never think of to go, everyone as travelers wants to go to all the big spots and the popular locations that everyone's always wanted to go to. But I've really found, and I'm very grateful that Connected Nation has given me the opportunity to go and explore these little hidden gems that a lot of people don't know about. And because with doing these classes, going on a hike or finding a trail, or even going and talking to some random person at an antique store for an hour or two is really a stress reliever. And I've found it's been really, I don't know, real neat, real cool little random things that have been happening.
Yeah.
While working.
What's been the favorite place? What's each of you pick your favorite place you've been?
Oh. Well, I really liked this last one, but I say that about every single.
I know. Each one, just you meet people from varying backgrounds, and you, even if it's like one or two people, you get to know them like on a deeper level, and you get to hear their experiences and how they ended up there. And it's just, I find it
particularly in Bastrop. Yeah. I talked to one participant. I asked her to do an interview, and then we get back to the after like to have lunch, and I started sharing with Alec. He's like, really? In 15 minutes you got that deep in all that? I was like, yeah. I was like, we barely interviewed for like 1 minute. He's like, you were gone for like 20 minutes. I'm like, Sorry, we were just
Sorry.
connecting.
Yeah. So I honestly, I feel like it's
I'm just gonna go with the last place I went because like I said, I always say that. Like I never thought I'd like Bastrop as much as I did. Um, but yeah, in Corbett, Eastern Kentucky, London, Kentucky, all that was beautiful.
and I got to see Seattle, Washington, like during the fall. So I mean, here we barely have any trees that change any color. So that was beautiful
I know.
and everything. So it's been nice just exploring all these different little cities and towns and people. So
We'll get you out east. Don't you worry. Just hope that they don't ask you to go there in like February or March.
yeah,
One of our best friends right now moved here from
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, and she just actually came back, and we've been like, oh, whenever you go, tell us. And she's like, oh, I'm in Pennsylvania right now. I'm like, or I'm in PA,
Yeah.
right? Is that how? I feel
Yeah.
like that's
Yeah.
common in PA. And we're like, yeah. So we do. We wanting to make it out there. So
we'll get you here. I mean, Grant, I know Grant's not from here. But we've accepted him. Like they call us, so we're in Western Pennsylvania. That's where we are. They in a lot of like Yinzers. And I remember the first time I said that, Tom Free, our CEO, was like, what's a Yinzer? I was like, oh, it's the people from Western PA. It's, you know, the Steeler fans. It's we bleed black and gold. Like it's, I don't, Steel City, like people all worked, you know, in the day, like back in factories here, just like blue collar town. That's what Yinzers are. That's who we are. So we hope someday we will get you out here to teach a class. We'll meet you eventually. But that's awesome. I mean, I know that all these people have, like I said, have touched your heart. Like you get personal stories from all of them. Do you have a memorable one? Do you have a person in particular that stayed with you?
I think there was this one lady, um, she was from, let me think, Marble Falls, Texas. And there were supposed to be 6 people registered for each class, and only that one lady showed up. And so it was basically a one-on-one session, and she basically told me her whole life story. And then I kept being like, do you still want to learn like the technology skills? Like, do you want to go back to it? And she'd be like, yeah, we can get that there in just a second. Let me just finish my story. So it's just like super fun to like hear her whole story. And basically she's just like, and they always like give us their blessings. And so it's just really cute because they're like, I really appreciate the work that you're doing, and like, can I like pray over you? Or like they'll like do the little like
Mexican grandma,
the little Mexican grandma,
cross,
like
bendición.
bendiciones. And so it's just super sweet. And that lady, I remember she was just telling me she used to like raise on a farm. She didn't even know the difference between Wi-Fi and like the normal internet, like the satellite internet that you get like on your phone and everything. So I feel like it was like more conversation, but I was basically teaching her as she was like telling me her life story. I was telling her different tips and tricks.
No, yeah. For me, I think it was that one that I was just mentioning, that we were supposed to do the interview and then we were just kind of talking for like 20 minutes. But this lady that actually had the same name as my grandma that passed away years ago already. But my grandma would particularly, she'd always have these like little moments where she would just share these like little life lessons, you know, and it was just so wise, and they were very special. But this lady happened to be the first one that I interviewed when I went to Bastrop, because I went to Bastrop for 2 weeks, and my very first class, very first day. And I sit down and I had in mind, I always, you know, kind of read the room, see like who would be a good candidate to interview while I'm going throughout the day. And I had her in mind and someone else, and then she came up with the idea of like, how about I do a Spanish one and she does an English one? And I was like, And she was like, because, to show variety. And I was like, literally, that's the best idea ever, because I felt like the interviews were already getting a little repetitive. I don't know if my questions were being a little repetitive. So I was like, oh, well, I would just, show how Connected Nation can offer, a variety of methods to teach the classes. So that was the first day, but she would also happen to be a volunteer for Bastrop County Cares. And so that last class session that I was at, she like walks in and once again just gives us this little spiel about how life is just so that there's just no mistakes in life and everything happens for a reason. And that day our class location had gotten moved within the church, but it was a big church. And she's like, right when you guys pulled up, they had 4 parking lots, but y'all pulled up right at the parking lot I was at, and I was able to get you guys, direct you guys. And she's like, I answered to like, a higher power, a higher, like a bigger boss than just the boss I have. And I thought that moment was just real sweet. And I felt like both me and the a young lady I was trying to interview, could really benefit from it. But I just talk and I don't know how to not connect.
So, like you mentioned, Marco, Alec, you both can wander into an antique store and have a conversation for an hour, or sit there with one of the participants and talk about their life story. And that's what I always found so amazing about you two is you are professionals and you do know your stuff and you know what you're talking about and you know how to train. But at the same time, talking about digital training and cybersecurity, that can get pretty boring pretty quick in certain instances. So I think one thing about you two that makes you so great is it's like 50% knowledge and professionalism and 50% personality. And you guys have such rich, strong personalities that allow you to connect with the participants and people from all kinds of backgrounds. And part of that personality is interests and things that you can just talk about to stir a conversation. So, on that topic, what are some hobbies or interests that you two both partake in either on the road or in your off time that kind of build your personality up and like make you the trainers that you are?
Do you want to go first? Okay. Well, for me, I mean, we love doing anything outdoors. Anytime, because even if it's like a small town, I'll try to find a park. And most parks in other places have grass, unlike here that we live in the middle of the desert where we don't have grass. So I'll just go and literally take off my shoes and just sit in the grass and take it all in. And just to enjoy it. Because coming from Houston here, it's like the environment is so different. And so that's one thing I really do miss. And I mean, we love laughing, and I feel like that's a really big motivator for people to learn. And so it's making them laugh and connecting with them. So we like to start off the class like, what what made you come to this class in the first place? And so we try to pull and make it relatable to them, so that they can find something interesting and keep them engaged. And we also like to just pull jokes here and there to kind of lighten the mood, because sometimes, and I feel like if you're just up there just telling training, I feel like you'll start seeing some people start to doze off and stuff like that. So that's why we like to make it a little bit more fun and engagement as well. So engaging them, like instead of like just being like teaching the presentation, I'll be like, does anyone know about multi-factor authentication? And maybe there'll be one person or two people that know it, and they'll like tell what they think, and I'm like, that's perfect. And so I feel like they learn from the class as well. So it's kind of like being connected with other people, and that's something I love. I love spending time with my family. I feel like that's like a really big thing. And I feel like that's what I mean, growing up Hispanic, I feel like we're taught from a young age to like make sure you say hi to every single relative. Like, so if there's 20 people in the room, make sure you give them a hug and a kiss every 20 every person. So make your rounds. And
which also makes saying,
yeah,
saying goodbye exhausting.
exhausting. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
feel like we in the Hispanic culture, I feel like we really learn the sense of community. So I think it's really important that we bring that aspect to all of our classes. So
I was
make
gonna
sure
ask, do all the grannies want to whip out their like grandkid pictures and be like, "Let me show you."
yeah, because they'll be like, "Can I give you a hug? You remind me of
Yeah.
my grandson so
Yeah.
much, or my son," and they'll just give us a hug. And I mean, we're huggers, so we'll
Yeah.
give hugs to everybody and everybody. So
No, literally in Bastrop County cares. There was 4 different counties we went to, but I mean cities. And every class I was like, I'm gonna miss that group. I'm gonna miss that group. And then like, but I always tell myself, like, okay, keep your heart open to making new connections, because when they're so close together, it's like preparing yourself for, how, I hate to compare or whatever. But no, it was then I was like, oh my gosh, I missed that group, and so on and so forth. But I think, yeah, like how Alex said, connecting, going out in nature. If luckily where I've been sent, there's always a state park. Some luckily the ones in Texas, I have the state park pass, but other states are way cooler because they don't even charge. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is way cool. But if there's bodies of water, go swim. And just I feel like I very much believe in energy and learning from it. So when I go disconnect, I feel like it really does prepare me to connect with whatever challenges the next day at work, I'm ready to face.
because I feel like sometimes we leave classes like drained of our
Or
of
just
our
heavy.
energy, or just like I'm like I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
We find ways to like recharge and connect again with ourselves, and then so that the next day we're
I feel like
back
it
to
helped us really learn how to read. I've always been one to like really listen to my intuition, but those little practices really help us to read people and read the room. And if I see there's one person in particular that could use some help, okay, I'm going to pair them up with this person that you could tell is just coming more for a little bit of a refresher to feel more confident. And then the one that's going for the refresher feels confident that, like, hey, I can do this. I'm actually even teaching or helping someone else move along. So it's like giving them extra sense of confidence. And then the one that needs the help has that, feels a little bit more comfortable having that a little bit of extra guidance while I am teaching and helping other people, um, you know, feel like there's not just my attention going towards one person.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think you like kind of touched on this. To you guys, sometimes it can be repetitive, right? Like you're teaching, I'm teaching cybersecurity again, but it takes the people that are attending to remind you this is for them. This is the first time, right? This is the first, like there was a woman you interviewed probably about a month ago, and I remember her saying that she was the only one in her family that lived in Texas, but she had family all over the country, and you taught her how to use Zoom. So now she is able to talk to all these family members that are everywhere. So yeah, I'm sure sometimes you're like, okay, I'm gonna go, the curriculum's the same, I'm gonna go over the same thing again, I just taught it 17 times. But then there's that one person that's like, I didn't know this, and now I've heard pastors talk about how they're going to use it for like Bible studies and things with their church, and whether it be telehealth, which we do so much with like telehealth, but it's like such a good refresher, and you guys do such a great job of then taking it back to the one person. Like you might teach it 100 times, but it only takes one person you could change their life, and each person matters, and each community matters. And that's like Grant said, and I say every week that I get to talk to you, like you guys are the refresher for me as to why I love my job, and what's meaningful to me about my job. And so I know that you guys bring that in each class that you go to, that is like a reminder, and I'm sure they bring it to you as well. Oh, I do love what I do. This is why I'm here. This is why I'm doing this right now. So I always want to remind you guys of that, like how amazing you are. So we'll take it to a couple maybe more fun questions here, and then I promise we'll let you guys go because I know we're at the end of the day here. But what are your favorite like go-to snacks during the day, or what are some of your favorite meals that you've had as you've been traveling? I love food, so
Oh, well, I know like usually during the sessions, we sometimes barely even have time to eat
Yeah,
lunch.
even if they provide it, sometimes.
And sometimes it just goes so fast paced that you just even forget about eating lunch. And I'm like, well, I just fasted, so it's good for the body.
Yeah.
But
But afterwards,
yeah.
I mean, if we're in Texas, like Austin area, we try to find barbecue.
Yeah.
If not, P. Terry's.
Terry's is really good. It's
Like
In-N-Out.
In-N-Out, yeah.
is pretty.
But then I'm trying to
delicious.
like not eat, like being
So
gone
bad.
for like a whole month. I was like, I need to eat healthier. So I'm trying to do, Asian food's always good, healthier option.
It's because here and where we live in Alpine, we only have a McDonald's, Sonic, and Pizza Hut. And so that's it. So anytime we're in another city where there's other fast food places like Chick-fil-A or because we always get like Papa John's gift cards. We're like, we can only use it when we're on a trip.
Yes. We can't even use it here.
Can't even use it.
Well, I think
here.
I had our last one for like almost the whole year.
Yeah. Luckily they don't expire.
Yeah.
We still always use it. But yeah, I always have to have my coffee beforehand though, because if not, I feel like I'm always like scatterbrained sometimes.
Yeah.
So the coffee helps me. And I always try to find local coffee places and like restaurants as well, so we can give back to the community as well.
I know we did one, well in particular. I even took Alec there when he came to help us, like assist me in the second half of Bastrop County Cares. But the first week I went to Elgin, Texas, and there was this food truck that it was a Mexico City food truck. And so we've learned, my family's from northern Mexico, his family's from the south, and the food is very, very different. We both have we've learned to appreciate each other's
it's like a culture shock.
Yeah.
Like within the same state.
Different types of tortillas, different types of meats, but tacos. I was like, oh my gosh, look! I sent him a picture. I was like, there's tlacoyos here. I just was used to tacos, burritos, and so when he joined us, we even drove to Elgin and ate from this little food truck. And the lady was like, oh, you came back. We're gonna have a party on Saturday. There's gonna be food, music, and we're like, oh, we're not gonna be here. We're done working. And she's like, oh, that's sad. She's like, well, I'm glad you came a couple of times. So that was cool. That was fun. And
they just invite you back to their picnics and stuff. That's really, they like you that much.
Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. Grant, do you have any last questions?
Yeah, I had one. I'm gonna go ahead, Ashley. We are gonna guess, but I'm gonna ask them what superpower they would like to have as digital skills trainers. My guess is gonna be teleportation, because you love the travel, but maybe you don't love the plane and the car rides. Ashley, what would your guess be?
Be a mind reader, to be able to know exactly what it is people are thinking.
All right, see if you can top that.
Marco might not like that.
I was like, I feel like that one can go good or bad.
Both ways.
Yeah.
I mean, teleportation would be nice, because sometimes the anxiety you get from traveling, like if we're gonna make it on time, or if the flight gets delayed, are we gonna get in time for our connecting flight? So that's always stressful. So that would be nice.
And then it seems like I always have a family event going on.
It's never
ends. So we're always even traveling, even when we're not working, and then we're so far away, like from airports and stuff. But yeah, I think teleportation would be very useful. Yes.
Yeah. I was thinking of being able to multiply yourself, so that there could be multiple of you.
Yeah.
We could either reach more area that way, or we could also, because sometimes it's just me or us and the class, and so there's always there's all these beginner people, and it's just hard to take time to stop and make sure that everybody's on the same page and everything. So it would be nice to be able to duplicate myself.
Yeah.
And have
You know,
multiple. Yeah.
I'm Ashley and I just sit at home because we work from home and we're always checking the Microsoft list to see any new updates or any kind of like new numbers or new quotes or anything. And I'm a little suspect you guys may have already duplicated yourself because every time I get on there, it's unbelievable amounts of numbers, unbelievable amounts of work. And I'm like, I think we have about 3 or 4 Marcos and 3 or 4 Alex at the same time.
Yeah. And maybe want to be here to take care of the cats when we're gone.
No, I think that would be actually that's the one.
Yeah.
Having someone here, well, copy of
Yeah.
us here at all times so that the cats aren't mad at us. Right, buddy?
How many cats do you have? And what are their names?
So it's Hades Leonardo, Persephone St. Clair, Lucius Bloom, and Prudence St. Cloud.
They have both
They have middle
first name and
names
middle name.
because I'm
I like
extra.
Because I'm extra.
Yeah.
There's no other way to be, Marco.
Yeah. Yeah.
To be extra, you own it.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I feel like Grant, I literally feel like we could probably do this with them like once a month and
Yeah.
and have new things to talk about, new stories to tell. I don't know. If we can find time on your calendar, that might be something that we think about doing. You guys are just fun. You're so fun. And I know Grant and I will eventually, we'll hunt you down and we'll find you and we'll meet up at some point in person and we'll have our coffee and I will see, we would just want to learn more and more about you. You are amazing in what you do. And we're very, very fortunate to have you teaching all these classes everywhere. So what trips do you have coming up? Where are you going to be in the next month or two?
Well, this next month, I know next week I go to Brownwood.
Well, Sunday.
Sunday I go to Brownwood, yeah, actually. And then I think there's
I leave
Kentucky,
to
and then Marco goes to
I leave to Houston, well, Orange, Texas, which is like an hour from Houston.
Yeah.
And then Denton, Texas, which is Dallas Fort Worth area.
Yeah.
And between there, I'm going to the TLA in the Dallas area TLA meeting to present, give the Library Association a little bit more of what we do, and hopefully we get more bookings in that area.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Denton before?
We've
probably driven through it, yeah.
I'll tell you what, based on what I can pick up from you two, the Denton Town Square downtown is like, it is antique store, shop, like city. There's a bookstore that it's just like an old, really, really cool bookstore. I think I think you're going, Marco, but if you guys ever get the chance, because my girlfriend's from Frisco, so we always, when I'm home, we always have a day where we drive to Denton, and it's right up your guys' alley. Like, it's just like such a cool, like a little bit of old fashioned vibe, but it's like, it's a really, really cool spot. So you definitely got to check it out.
I'll have to resist buying stuff because Alec,
Yeah.
I'm like, look what I got. He's like, why are you buying more stuff for the house? We don't need it. We want to get rid of the stuff for the house that I want. But I'm like,
he says he wants to be more of a minimalist, and he complains that we need to get rid of stuff, and I'm like, but he's over there. Look what I found. Look what I bought.
it's like it told me to take it home. It just talks to me, and it's just like, yeah, no. That's how I ended up at that one antique store with that one lady, because I had gone once, and the second time we were there for like 2 hours talking. But she was like, it's because we're just talking about me being a Pisces, and she's the same sign, and she was just like, everything, like our way of thinking, it was just so funny how similar we were, and she's like, yeah, that's why I ended up with all this stuff. Was all these little antique things just telling me I needed to take it. Like, and now I can't get rid of it.
But now you have more space to put it all. So
we just don't even know how we got it to look good at the other place, or even we're just delusional and it didn't look good. No, but yeah, well, definitely. Yeah, thank you. Now I know because I feel like in the Dallas area, it's just so much going on.
It's
I don't even
huge.
want to leave the room because there's
Yeah.
just the traffic's horrible. I'm like, but that would be thanks for the recommendation. 'Cause
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I'm like, that will de-stress me for sure. Because
Yeah.
Well, I'm about to head to New York City tomorrow morning, so I would gladly do Dallas over New York City. Like, I'm very nervous about it, so I
so you're
feel
getting
you.
an award?
Huh?
Getting an award?
Well, yeah, we're up for an award
Oh,
for Teens Teach Tech, so I'm heading in in the morning. I'm making it a day trip because that's the only one of the only places that you can fly direct from Pittsburgh is New York City. Otherwise, there's not very many places like Nashville and like New York City are like them the only places you can get direct from here. So I'm going in the morning and I'm leaving later on to get home so that I can watch football. Watch my so that's the plan. But yeah, like I grew up in the burbs. I grew up in the suburbs. Like I'm not a big city person. And the last time I was there, I had Grant, like making sure I didn't get hit by any buses or cars. And he's not gonna be there tomorrow.
Or bike
So I don't know
riders.
what I'm gonna do. He always makes sure I'm like paying attention. But I'm like, oh, look at the top of that building. There's like this big statue. And I'm like taking pictures, and then Grant like just would stand and be like, you're gonna get hit. Like I always tell him, like, he's like my son. Like, I'm like, I don't know what, thanks for making sure I get home safely until I get like taken. So this has been awesome. And this, like, I'm telling you this, I don't know, I'll talk to Grant. This might be something we try to do more often, because I think it's also a really great way for you guys to frequently tell us your stories and stuff too, and just to kind of like recap where you've been and what you've been doing. And I think that might be something fun to do if you guys are willing.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm gonna end the recording, but I'm like super grateful for you guys. I cannot thank you enough.
I'm grateful for the comms team as well.
Thank you so much.